she used to have to chaperone the prom. Ooh, man, I'll tell you what. So, you know, we would go to see the young prom girl. I took the old prom girl, and we went to see the prom girl. And we walked in one day, and there's a friend of ours there. He's a teacher, and he's really upset because his hearing is bad. And he said, "My God," he said, "they had a song about the WPA." We said, "Ed," I said, were they doing stuff like this?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "No, Ed. It's called the YMCA." And he said, "What was that?" And I said, "You are older than me." But this library, this section of town, Maxwell's, who lived over here, will donate their house to the YMCA. And if you ever have a chance to get out to Greenwood, we don't have a picture of it, but look for the James Maxwell gravesite. It's the little castle. It's the turret. Okay? James Maxwell, tragic, only son, and goes to VMI, gets down there on a Wednesday. It's still in September. They go swimming, and he's dead on Saturday from drowning. And if you go to VMI, you'll see that their old building, like their old main, has a tower that's very similar to that. And there is, since that day, a scholarship at VMI available to somebody from Wheeling. Now, I was at the cemetery some years ago, and I was talking about this, and Steve Johnson, who was the former fire chief, said, "Doc, would you say that again?" And I said, there's this, you know, a scholarship. He said, "Really?" And I said, "Why are you interested?" He said, "That's where my son wants to go." So Steve's son was graduated last year, and when last time I saw Steve, I said, "How much did that scholarship save you?" He said, "That between $40,000 and $45,000. You know, so for those of you who say, "What good is a history class?" Steve Johnson will tell you it's very valuable. Okay. B&O station. Oh, yes. 1908. What does this reveal about Wheeling? Hey, we've got the best transportation in America. You've got this big station that comes in. You can get off here. There are scores of trains that come into Wheeling every day. And then by I think the last train left about 1964 maybe, or somewhere along in there. It looks a lot better now than it did here. Because remember, cities in the 19th century, they're not built to look nice. They're built to do things. You ever seen what's now downtown Pittsburgh in this period? Ugliest place. It's got rail lines everywhere. Well, Wheeling did too. But this is a demonstration of how tied in Wheeling was to the rest of the United States. And the fact that we had 135 miles of streetcar tracks, 7, 8 different rail lines coming through, roads, bridges, wow, we had it all. Okay. Now, Independence Hall. Why is this significant? It's the second thing in Wheeling that is a National Historic Landmark. And we have in our midst the president of the West Virginia Independence Hall Foundation Board, right here. Linda Cummings is on that board. This is what it looks like today, if you can see it because of all the construction that's going on. This is what it looked like in the late 19th century. This building is a federal building, but what I want to point out to you is trying to show us on this building, and here, let me point out some things here. First of all, look at all the arches. Now, why use arches? Well, the arch usually reminds people of Rome. The glory of Greece, the grandeur of Rome. Roman law. Okay? So what goes on in this building has to do with law and order. Look at the order in the building. Look how everything lines up on all sides. Now, you may not see this as an impressive building, but in 1858, when this building was put up, it's the only building in Wheeling that's made out of stone. So this is a significant kind of thing. I just did a little bit for a video that's going to be shown on PBS sometime during pledge season in March. And one of the things that we were talking about is why courthouses, why some courthouses are impressive looking. And it's a deliberate attempt on the part of an architect and the people who want to build to impress people when they come in. So when you came in the bottom floor of this and you went into what's the post office, the lettering on the post office was in gold. And when you went into the rooms upstairs, they weren't 10-foot ceilings, they're 14-foot ceilings. The doors in there aren't squared off, they have the arch in them. They have a tile floor. So buildings do tell us things. Sometimes they reveal an awful lot. So we'll see if we can find some things as we move on. This is an interesting building because it shows us two things. One, it shows that the facade is going to look different than the sides. Because there are limits to what you can do. This building was put up in the 1890s. This is beautiful stonework. If you know anything about First Lutheran Church, if First Lutheran Church could get a crowd this big, Reverend Ridenauer would be doing backflips. Okay? But Mr. Ridenauer will tell you they have more money than Curtis has little pills because of endowments. Okay? It's also the only church that I know of, right over here on this side, right under the pastor's office is a barber shop. Okay? It's called the First English Lutheran Church. Why? Because it's the first Lutheran church in Wheeling that spoke English. It has a beautiful sanctuary. Because the sanctuary is actually on the second floor, if you've never been in there. And it has a beautiful, I don't know, what do you call it? Is it the ceiling is painted, has the little cross in the west with very nicely done. And a very beautiful organ. I was in there with a class one day with a student who was an accomplished organist. And I said, "Bill, can he play?" He said, "Yeah." So he entertained us. Okay. Now, here we go. The old state capitol, city-county building, 16th and Chapel Street. Here is the building that was put up in 1876. Okay? Here is St. Matthew's Church behind it. This building stood between 1876 and about late 1950s when they tore it down. Okay? And you will notice that it's got various towers. It's got all this facade here of, this here is called a pediment. This is a reference to Greece, the Parthenon and so on. These are more Victorian, the nice cupolas and so on. And it